Hey everybody, welcome to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. My name is Justin. If you are listening live tonight on your PC, you can call in live 914-205-5558. Hello, Eric.
Hello.
You guys. All right, you guys can also find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. We also did start our Indiegogo campaign again. If you guys want to check it out, it is in our chat room. If you're listening live, if you're listening to the archive, then we will have it in the comments for the podcast. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to say. Oh, if you ever want to hit us up in our email is paratruthradio@gmail.com. So tonight we are doing our Christmas special. And for those of you that have ever listened to the Night Stalkers show, probably have a similar idea what's going to be coming up tonight. If you haven't, then this is all new content for this show. We've got Santa Claus, we've got Jesus, we've got the Anti-Claus. I'm sure there's a few others in there that we will probably get to at some point during the show. Eric had asked our listeners to post questions to us on our Facebook page, which we do have a couple to get to. So let's start with, if anybody out there doesn't know who Santa Claus is, let's inform them who Santa Claus is, Eric.
All right. Well, there are a number of different views as to who Santa Claus is. Obviously, we know that the current rendition of Santa Claus is a big, fat, jolly man who wears a red suit, a leather belt, and a red hat, and flies around on reindeer. 9 reindeer, I believe. I can't really remember. That's sad.
Well, it's 8 reindeer unless you're counting.
8 reindeer. I'm counting Rudolph.
Rudolph, yeah.
He's a big one nowadays, so have to count him. So, basically it's a fat, jolly man that breaks into people's homes. But he doesn't steal stuff except for cookies and milk, which he then leaves gifts behind. Kind of a trade-off, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's the bringer of gifts. He's I guess the way we see him today is it's hard to explain, but actually people really kind of have expressed Santa as almost being godlike in nature, per se, in the fact that, or in the sense that some believe Santa Claus to be able to know what you're doing at all times. He knows whether or not you're awake or sleeping. He knows if you've been good or bad. All characteristics, more or less, of what God is and what he's able to do. So, Santa Claus has been seen as being omniscient, meaning to know all things. Not so much omnipotent, like God is, all-powerful. But yeah, Santa Claus that's Santa Claus. Big white beard, too, typically, in most traditions. But the true Santa Claus is a man that was named St. Nicholas. His name was Nicholas, but he was then named St. Nicholas by the church. And he was a rough guy, to be honest. He had gotten into fights. He was a man for Christ. He was very strong in his faith. And there was one time, and I don't know if it's exactly true. Some history says it is. Some history says it isn't. There was a time where St. Nicholas had heard about a man who was preaching against the gospel and against Christ. And St. Nicholas went down to this tavern to speak with him. And they were talking, and of course St. Nicholas pretty much buried him with the truth of who Christ was and is and will be. And it pretty much shut this guy up. After that, St. Nicholas punched the guy and grabbed him by the throat, basically, and threw him out of the tavern and told him never come back. So he's kind of a rough guy.
Who knew Santa Claus was such a badass?
Yeah. But I mean, even though he was such an awesome dude in that sense, he had a soft spot, and it was for children, especially and poor children. And every year he would gather gifts because he was a very rich man before he came to Christ. And when he came to Christ, he was still very rich based on the work that he did. And so he had a lot of money, like a lot of money. He had a lot of items, a lot of things stored up, and he would go out on certain nights, not necessarily Christmas Eve, because I don't know if Christmas Eve or Christmas Day was established at that point yet. But he would go out and he would give gifts to poor children and to all the children that he came across. And eventually he became known later on as Saint Nick or Santa Claus. And that's basically who Santa Claus is. So, as we all know, we grow up, and of course I know it's a very good possibility that Santa Claus is still alive. It's, he's out there, he's flying around, he's getting ready to drop the gifts off for little kids all around the world. But there is truth behind Santa Claus, who he really is. He wasn't always known as Santa Claus. It's really kind of interesting when you think about it, to think like, and I know you and I have said it in the past, all legends, all myths have some sort of truth or come from some sort of truth.
Right, yeah.
And in this case, it is one of those things. And Santa Claus today does the exact same thing that St. Nick did, hundreds of years ago. So that's Santa Claus.
Well, one of the biggest things I'm a firm believer in Santa Claus, but I believe that Santa Claus, just like we're taught that Jesus lives in all of us, his spirit, his lesson to all of us was to always be giving, to always be loving, and not expect gifts, but always expect to give. This is the time of giving, not the time of receiving.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, growing up is always nice to receive. But once you get to a certain age, you no longer care about what you receive and actually feels better to give the gifts as well.
Yeah.
For me, personally. And this year, I'm not giving very good gifts because I don't have much money to do so. But, for all you out there, the gift is heartfelt. It's not about how much money you spend.
Your gift is being in the presence of your family to spend Christmas with them. That's your gift to them.
Mm-hmm.
You sound like that's not the best thing you could be giving them at this time. They may not feel that it's the best gift you could be giving them, but
maybe it'd be a better gift to leave them alone.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
one of the biggest things for Santa Claus is it's not just a one cultural thing. It's gone to pretty much almost every country that you know of. There is some type of legend of Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, Kris Kringle. You think of a name and it relates to Saint Nicholas, who started all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to see if there's other names here that I can find that people call him. Crap. Oh, here we go. Joulupukki in Finland.
What is it?
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Joulupukki, Joulupukki.
Okay.
Mikulus in Hungary. These are different. I'm sorry, these are related figures in folklore, not his names. But it says Joulupukki is the original Santa Claus from Finland.
Okay.
Let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, I'm not finding any other names of Santa Claus.
You know what's interesting about that is so many cultures have a similar, I guess, person or similar, and in this case, Santa Claus, and that kind of goes for pretty much all legends or whatever.
Right.
When you look at the flood of Noah, you see the same thing in the Muslim religion. You see the same thing in China. You see it all over the world. Everyone says that there has been a huge flood. Now, depending on how that flood happened and who actually was all involved with that flood has changed between cultures,
right.
But it's very similar,
Right. Okay,
and
I've got a whole list here.
Yeah. Okay.
Père Noël in Belgium, Pape Noel in Brazil, Viejo Pasquero, Old Man Christmas is the translation in Chile, Doen Che Lao Ren, Christmas Old Man in China, Kerstman in Netherlands. It is Joulupukki in Finland. I'm sorry, folks, if I'm mispronouncing any of these. These are really weird pronunciations that I've ever seen. It's also Père Noël in France. I think it's most of Europe, Père Noël. Germany is Weihnachtsmann, Christmas Man. Hawaii, it's Kanakala. Oh my God, Kanakaloka. Hungary is Miculus, Saint Nicholas. Italy is Babbo Natale. Sorry. Japan is Hodiosho, a god or priest who bears gifts. Norway is Julenissen, Christmas gnome. Poland is Święty Mikołaj, Saint Nicholas. Russia is Dead Moroz, Grandfather Frost. Sweden is Jultomten, Brownie, which is a gnome or an elf. And UK, Father Christmas. So some of them are not even the same person. It's just a person who is like Saint Nicholas.
Mm-hmm.
So for every culture, just like you said for the legend of the flood, some of them are very similar, but some of them aren't even Saint Nicholas.
Right.
Those of you guys preparing for Christmas, actually right now we're getting close to the end of Hanukkah, so if you are celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to you. Definitely know who Santa Claus is, not even just the jolly red guy that you see at the mall. Learn about Santa Claus. Learn about just your culture in general, what the legend is, what it pertains to, because it's more than just this fat guy that breaks into homes, eats all your cookies and milk, and then leaves presents for your kids. Not even the adults, let alone just the children. So it goes to show that there is so much culture in our society, not just here in the United States, but all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, close that out. I'm trying to think of stuff that will go with Santa Claus other than he leaves presents. What is your earliest memory of Santa Claus for you?
Earliest memory?
Yeah.
Okay, there was this one night. I actually remember this very clearly because I was thinking about it like 2 days ago. In my spare time, I like to fantasize about Santa Claus, the big jolly red suit and everything. No, I'm just, that's messed up.
Whatever you're into, man. Whatever you're into.
Oh, gosh. No, we're not. All right, I often think about this because I still don't know how the heck it was done. And so I'm still trying to figure it out, and I don't even think anyone remembers it very well. But when my sisters and I were kids and, like, real young, so we were all still in the same room, we had heard bells one Christmas Eve night coming from outside. And so we ran to this, to the window, and we're looking around trying to find out what the heck it was. And my mom was with us saying, "It's Santa Claus. You got to get to bed. Got to get to bed." So we end up getting to bed. And the next morning, we open our gifts and everything like that, and we go out in the backyard, and what do we see? A bunch of hoof prints and sled marks in the snow in the back driveway. And that was by far one of the most surprising, interesting, exciting, things I've ever seen. But to this day, I have no clue who, if it was my parents that did it or neighbors or how it was done or was it really Santa Claus? I don't know. But yeah, that's probably the earliest one that I remember. Yeah, any earlier than that for a holiday would be Easter, and that's a bad memory.
Uh-oh.
Should I go there real quick? My sister would kill me if I actually said it on air, although she was really young, so it doesn't matter. But
go ahead, say it.
I'm gonna say it anyway. So me, Aaron, my mom, and Grandma were driving to this play for Easter, and I remember the play. It was in my mind now. It's kind of creepy because I remember seeing a giant shadow of a rabbit, and so now I kind of, being older and after seeing Donnie Darko, I kind of, So, but I ended up seeing it alone with my mom and Grandma because on our way to the play, Aaron wasn't feeling so good, ended up throwing up in the back seat. So we had to turn around and take her home. So that particular Easter wasn't a very nice memory for me. But yeah, that's quite a few months away. So get back to Christmas.
Well, I don't know if I have an earliest memory. I always remember always waking up in the middle of the night and having to go out to the Christmas tree to see if Santa had come yet. One of the better memories that I remember was the one year Santa came on the fire and was giving presents to me, Matt, and Kellen. So that's one of the better memories I have of it. Whenever I think of Christmas, though, I think of Grandpa Cancelleri because he was always, as much as he would yell at us about soda and roughhousing and everything else when we would get together for the holidays, he was always the happiest person, especially on Christmas and Thanksgiving. So whenever I think of Christmas, that's what I think of.
Yeah, that's a good one. All the holidays. Grandma and Grandpa's with the big white tree.
Yeah.
I remember the one day we were all wrestling in the basement, and Grandpa thought that I was your brother, and so he grabbed me and took his belt off and was about to hit me until he realized it was me and not Matthew. So I ran and hid under the table for about 30 minutes, scared to death. Everyone stopped wrestling after that for a while. That was a freaking scary time.
I'm pretty sure the belt came out pretty much every time we were roughhousing. As soon as that belt came out, everybody was the perfect angel that Grandpa wanted them to be. All right. Well, I think.
Yeah. Hold on, real quick. Am I coming in clearly on that end?
Yeah. I mean, it's a it's a phone, so it's not as good as when you're.
Well, yeah, it's not as
calling
clear.
in on the microphone, but yeah, it's
okay. Just wanted to make
coming
sure.
in fine. All right.
Cool.
Are you ready for your random fact?
Hold on. I gotta get it here.
I don't have that sound effect. I need to get it.
What the heck, man? You've been doing this a while.
I have one of these. Or this.
Oh aboard the Chupa 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 Chupacabra train.
Oh, goodness.
Did I kill enough time? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready.
All right, folks, we're going to take our first break, but first, here is Eric's random fact of the day.
Now, Eric's random fact of the day.
Did you know that George Lucas sold his company to Disney? He vowed to donate most of his $4 billion Star Wars wealth to education. He launched his own foundation to improve grades, kindergarten to 12th, because he believes that education is the key to the survival of the human race.
This was Eric's random fact of the day.
Okay, forest animals, today is a new day. Kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow.
Yes?
Have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. Okay, River.
Dude.
How's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man. Perfect for a little riverside shoeless relaxation.
Ah, good. Owl, you here? Cool. Who's asking? I am. Look, you know the drill. Sleep during the day, scare the kids at night. Perfect. I love my job. Oak Tree?
Sup?
Still in the same place I left you last year. That's what I like. Consistency.
Well, it's not like I'm going anywhere for the next couple hundred years.
I know. I love it. Turtle. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. You'd think he would have learned by now to leave the night before our meetings. Okay. Squirrel. Has anybody seen Mr. Squirrel?
The forest has been preparing just for you. Visit a forest near you today. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I might look like an adult, like a person who could possibly be a parent, but I have no idea how to talk like one. And everyone knows that if you want to be a parent, you have to sound good when you say things like, "Don't make me turn this car around," or "Because I said so," or "Don't make me come back there." I don't even really know what those things mean, but I know that I actually believed my parents when they said them to me. How did they manage to sound so convincing? Here we go. "Don't make me come back there." Oh, no, that's not tough enough at all. Kids can sense weakness. "Don't make me come back there." Ooh, yeah, that's better. In fact, that kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to listen to you practice your dad voice. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Are you ready? Are you prepared? What if some cataclysmic event shook your every foundation? Would you and your family know what to do? My name is Jacqueline Druga, host of the Apocalypse Nana Show. Join me every Thursday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. PrepperBroadcasting.com. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're there for your survival needs.
Ladies and gentlemen, sublimely elegant here as always, and you are listening to Paratruth Radio.
All right, folks, welcome back to Paratruth Radio, right here on Blog Talk Radio. My name's Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And this is our Christmas special. If you guys are listening live on the computer, you can scroll down to the bottom of your screen there, join us in our chat room. You can hop on to our Facebook page or Twitter and pose questions there. Eric did encourage you guys to do so in his video this week, and we do have one or two to answer. But also hit us up on our guest line, 914-205-5558. We are always encouraging you guys, give us something to talk about. Give us a question to ponder. It's definitely way better than me and Eric just talking back and forth for today 2 hours, but usually a half hour. So I figured before, or an hour, sorry. My mind is balled out for the day. we had one on our Facebook page this afternoon from Geraldine. It says, please tell us about your testimony of your lives before you came to know the Lord, during and after, in a summary. So, Eric, I'll give that to you first.
I had a feeling you were going to do that. All right, before and after. All right, so let's get deep. Let's get deep.
Oh, God, we're getting deep?
Don't we always on the show? Not really. It depends. It depends what it is. Okay, so I officially became saved or born again Christian in what was it? September? Was it September? I think it was September of 2009.
It's just before we went to Scarefest, yeah.
Well, it was actually after Scarefest.
It was after Scarefest?
Yeah, because, all right, so here's a story. So before 2009, and Justin will attest to this, I drank a lot. Not like drunk and drinking every day type, but party animal, drink almost every day type.
Well, like, if we would, just to clarify, if we were to go out, me and Eric were always on the impression there's no point in going out to drink unless you're going to get drunk.
Yes. So that's basically where I came from. But besides that, I used to swear a lot. I used to watch and listen to rap music, for example, which is really bad lyrics and talking about things that shouldn't be talked about. So that was one of the big things for me. And then just all kinds of that bad stuff. I used to swear a lot. Like every other word would be the F word, or sometimes every word would be the F word. And eventually, as that time went on, I think I was about 21 or so when I started experiencing demonic activity within my house. And it was right around the time Justin and I believe, started the show, the radio show, that it's Night Stalkers. And I started doing a lot of research on demonology. And in particular, I got this book. Some of you out there listening, I'm sure you know it. It's called The Lesser Key of Solomon. And that's basically a book in which Aleister Crowley had forwarded, where King Solomon, after he walked away from the faith in the Lord, it's theorized, or I'm pretty sure it's historically accurate, that he became so obsessed with his wisdom, basically, that he learned to conjure up demons and control them using a number of different magical symbols and spells and so on and so forth. Well, in this book, it has all that stuff and the rituals, plus a description of 72 different demons that were conjured up by Solomon. And so I was reading into this, and I read through all 72, and as I was doing this, things started to happen. And it was like, at first it started with these visions, these really weird visions. And it ended up moving into nightmares and the night terrors. And it was so bad to the point where I would be waking up at 3 a.m., sometimes screaming, sometimes sweating, sometimes nauseous, just with the images that I would see while sleeping. And then as time continued going on, I started seeing shadows in the room. In my bedroom, I'd feel something late, sit down on my bed, sweep my hair back. I heard something, breathe on me, or felt something breathe on me. I seen a giant black mass in the hallway that ran away from me when I looked at it. And I actually chased it down, thinking it was somebody, a person, but it ended up going nowhere except to a room where voices were coming from, and there was nobody in there, and no TV was on, which was interesting. And eventually I heard growling on the side of the bed as well one night when I was just laying there. All this progressed, and I wrote it all down in the journal, every single detail. And Justin and I eventually, after doing the show, we decided to go, and we actually invited, I guess, to a paranormal convention down in Kentucky. And while we were there, and I believe that was the first time that I had met Justin's friend Jamie, and I showed her this book, you know, with all these dreams and stuff, because she didn't believe that the nightmares that I had and the experience I had were really all that crazy and scary and so on and so forth. So I let her read the book, and she read through it, or at least read through some of it, and she put it down. She's like, holy crap, that stuff is dark, that's scary. And so she gave us these meditation discs, 2 of them, and told us what to do. And it was this whole idea of meditating and cleaning our chakras, and then we would go and sit in the rain. Well, it wasn't raining, but it wasn't supposed to be raining. We were supposed to go outside, sit in the grass barefooted, and list off a bunch of, in her words, negative things in our life. And after we would name off the entire list, we would more or less give it to God, and then try to pretend that like all the darkness was being pushed to God, and then he would send back this white light to cleanse us. Well, we ended up doing this whole thing, and it was pouring rain outside in the middle of September, and it was freezing. I lifted off everything, and I lifted it up, and I said, Lord, I put this at your feet. And I asked him to return it to me as white light. But it changed at that moment, because I started feeling this excitement within me, you know, this joy that I had never felt before. And I remember the rain stopping and the clouds parting, and a bright, like probably the brightest moon that I've ever seen in my life. It was a full moon shining down through the clouds onto me, it felt like. And it was almost symbolic in the sense that God was there and he was listening. And so I remember burning the paper to kind of say, this is never going to affect me again. And at the time we used, what's the smudging sticks called? Besides smudging sticks?
White sage.
White sage, yes. We used white sage at the time, which I still have because it smells really good. But the idea of white sage is to clear out any negative spirits within the home. Whether or not that really works, you know, it's my beliefs have changed now. I don't believe personally that it's the white sage that works, but, you know, some people out there do. But we did that. And then the very next day I was invited to church by my friend Libby. And I went there and I heard the gospel for the first time, really heard it. And that's when I accepted Christ fully, you know, as Lord and Savior. And now from that time, my whole view on, especially the paranormal, has changed. But my whole worldview in particular changed as well. I don't really, I'll be honest, I occasionally let a swear word slip here and there. But I don't swear. I drink occasionally, but never, ever, ever do I get drunk. I never allow that. I only have 1 or 2 beers. I go to church all the time. All of the paranormal stuff, you guys know, if you've been listening to the show, you know my view on the paranormal. I bring a Christian aspect to everything and shed light on things in my view and opinion, which beforehand was not the case at all. In fact, I remember at one point, just the discussion, the whole topic of God was an issue to me. Because before I became saved, I literally hated Christians severely at that. Because I had a lot of friends and neighbors who were Christian, and they would constantly, you know, in my view, push and shove Christ onto me, or force religion, I guess, down my throat.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because now that I'm a Christian, I see it completely different. So it's kind of weird, you know, going from someone who hates Christians and Christianity to becoming a Christian who follows, you know, Christ. So yeah, and so now here we are doing this, you know, the radio station. My views are different. Everything's pretty much different, and doing my best to trust in the Lord and, you know, follow in the faith, before and after. Thank you. I'm so honored. I was like, why is it so quiet? I don't have anything else to say.
Well, my story is very similar, almost exact to a T. I was brought up Protestant. My mom was Protestant. We always went to Protestant churches. My dad was Catholic, or is Catholic. I shouldn't say was. They're both still alive. And went to Mass every Christmas and Easter. After a while, as we got older, that kind of died down. After a few things that happened throughout my life, I started to believe that there wasn't a God or higher power. Some would have called me agnostic. Some would have called me atheist. Maybe it was just I didn't believe that there was a God that would allow things that did happen to happen. Regardless, I had lost my faith for a long time, really. It was until around the same time Eric found his again that I found mine. We were doing the paranormal Night Stalkers radio. We had just started doing... Did we start doing investigations at that point? I think we did.
We
did a
were
couple of our
doing them, I think, and we'd already done some.
Because we were doing them for the show, and we were doing them in public areas, not necessarily in homes or the businesses that we did after our group got a little bit bigger. One of the biggest things that came out of Eric's quote-unquote stories of drunken misbehavior was the paranormal radio show. One night we were sitting drinking, and we're like, God, we should do a show about werewolves and vampires and talk about all the stuff that happens. And I'm like, all right, tomorrow I'll start looking into it. And I think Eric kind of took it as, you're drunk, you're not going to do anything, because he's like, okay, yeah, sure. And I actually came upon Blog Talk Radio the next day. I'm like, I found the site. It's here. You can actually do it. And he's like, okay. So we got everything set up. We got we at that point had the boom mics that Eric still has, and tried to do a professional setup. Unfortunately, most of the time our sound quality was not the best. So we ended up getting headsets, which improved it a little bit. But as you saw in Eric's video, we were working with very older technology, even for standards then, for computers. Today, I would say our sound quality has gotten humongously better than when we were first on Blog Talk. Then we moved to the other network that we were on, and that's where Eric started his show, Forgotten Truth Radio, after I left Night Stalkers. And I started Parasite Radio on a different network again. But in that time is where we both found our faiths again. Mine has evolved a little bit more. I still believe a lot of the Christian beliefs, but I also believe other things as well. I believe that not all hauntings are demonic in nature. I believe that there is a way for us to either stay on this plane or visit others after we pass on. More of a mainstream paranormal view than a Christian worldview or Christian paranormal view. So my views have strayed a little bit away from the Christian faith from it, I guess you could say, but I still have those core beliefs in Christianity. But that's kind of where my story ends after starting Paratruth Radio again. We have come a long way. Believe it or not, it's already been 6 months since we've started Paratruth Radio, and our following has become very big for us. I mean, Night Stalkers was not as big as Paratruth is right now when we first started. So it's it's definitely very encouraging to see that we've grown way past the Night Stalker phase, because the Night Stalker phase was not very family oriented, I should say.
Yeah, I'd say.
So that's kind of in a nutshell my story as well. I love doing what we do. Paratruth Radio is definitely an evolved version of Night Stalkers, as well as Forgotten Truth and Parasite Radio. It's a completely different entity altogether. Even though Eric has his views and I still have mine that are completely on the opposite sides of the spectrum, we can actually talk to each other about it instead of just relying on our listeners as well, which we do encourage everybody to participate. But it's almost relieving to have somebody who has a completely different view to weigh the pros and cons of each view and be like, dude, what do you think this is? Or what is the Christian view on this? Because my view is completely different, or it's similar, but not on a Christian standpoint. It's more of a mainstream paranormal view. So I don't know the Christian standpoint for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, we're almost already at an hour. I knew this was going to be an interesting episode, and next week will be just as interesting. Just to touch really fast before we take our next break and before we get into Anti-Claus and all that, because one of the biggest things Christmas is about is the birth of Christ. Anybody who believes in Christmas or celebrates Christmas understands that's where the belief comes from. And maybe you can shed some light on this, because I honestly am not 100% on it. Where did believing in Christ and celebrating the birth of Christ go into giving presents and believing into a fat guy that can poof into your house and leave presents? Where did that all, intertwine with each other? Do you know where that all started?
I really don't know where that all started exactly, and honestly, I didn't even think about looking it up because I probably should have.
I mean, I get the whole St. Nicholas thing, and he helped bring joy to kids, and that's why St. Nicholas is Santa Claus, and that's why he's a part of the birth of Christ, because Christ would have saw this great person, and obviously, if you're a Catholic, made him a saint and made him basically one of the guys, sort of. But it's honestly, to me, become way too much commercialized and believing more in Santa Claus than it is believing in Jesus Christ or Christianity or God or any of that. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't know if you knew or had ever researched it through your schooling.
Sometimes it takes a moment. Sometimes I'll say, no, I don't know, and then
I know.
time goes on,
I'm already.
So, thank you for talking for a little bit there and letting me go through all the information in my mind and be like, oh, there it is. I don't know why that's there right now.
It's like a computer. It takes a while for a couple computers to pull up the file that they need.
And then sometimes it's there and it just freezes, and I'm just like,
Hence why if we say, it's like we've got that thought, it's right there, and we're just trying to process where it's coming from.
Yeah. We're trying to click play. It's just not working.
Right.
So, all right. So there's several things. First and foremost, Jesus was born. He was and is the gift to the world. He came to die for the sins of men and women, of all people. So Jesus has been seen as a gift, the gift of light. But also, when Jesus was born, there were men known as the Magi, Some call them the Three Kings. They saw the star in the sky, and they decided to follow. I'm sorry, I heard some weird cat sound in the other room, and I wasn't sure what it was.
Concentrate on the show. Don't worry about the cat.
Yes. Okay. Got it. Well, it sounded really bad, so I was about to. I don't know if someone getting killed. All right. So there's these wise men who saw the stars, who saw the star, the North Star, also known as the Star of Bethlehem, and they followed it. And when they came to where the star stood in the sky, they found baby Jesus. And they had with them gifts. Each of them had a gift. And actually there's some believe that there were only 3 that showed up. Others believe that a whole group of people showed up, which would make more sense actually when you look into the history of how those people traveled. But they came with a number of different gifts. And that kind of took place, or I guess is the forerunner or the base of why we give gifts today. Because not only was Jesus a gift to mankind, but the wise men brought gifts to the Lord. And so we follow in the same tradition by bringing gifts to little children and presenting them before them. So yeah, that's the simple answer. I'm sure there's much deeper than that.
I mean, most people, whether they're Christian or whatever faith they are, understand what the birth of Christ was and what Christmas kind of stands for. It's just most people don't, like, most people get into the Santa Claus aspect of it and buying presents for everybody over understanding why we celebrate it.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, so Christmas is supposed to be a day in which we celebrate the birth of Christ. But not everyone is Christian. So over time, yeah, it became very commercialized. We had to replace Jesus with Santa Claus. That's why Santa Claus is omniscient. He knows all things because Jesus, it has been said that he knows all things because Jesus was God in the flesh. So, and we read through the scriptures that there are times that Jesus knew what someone was thinking, and he would answer them before they even said anything to anybody. Jesus just knew things that were going to happen. He knew he was going to die. He knew when he was going to die. He knew how everything was going to take place when it was going to take place. So Jesus was omniscient, and he was very obviously omnipotent too here on earth, as he is in heaven, because he, performed so many miracles. He commanded the storm when they were on the Sea of Galilee. He commanded the storm to stop, and it ceased. He commanded Lazarus to rise from the dead after he had been dead for several days. And sure enough, this dead guy comes to life, and he's perfectly, restored. So yeah, Jesus was omniscient. He was omnipotent here on earth as he is in heaven. So Jesus was God and is God. And so people ended up replacing that view and making it Santa Claus because it would make more sense and easier, I guess, for those who were non-Christian but still wanted to celebrate the holiday and have all the, the presents and the fa-la-la-la-la stuff and whatnot. So, yeah.
Fa-la-la-la-la stuff.
Fa-la-la-la-la. Yeah, That's my way of saying blah, 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 but only in Christmas.
Fa-la-la-la-la. Well, one thing I just came across, which I've never heard this before, it's from Wikipedia. It says, in addition, several closely related and often interchangeable figures known as Santa Claus, Father Christmas, Saint Nicholas, and Christkind are associated with bringing gifts to children during the Christmas season and have their own body of traditions and lore. So Christkind is another name for Santa Claus in some areas, which to me would be basically saying Christ-like or something of that nature.
Which would make sense because as a Christian, someone who follows the Christian faith and follows Christ, we are told through Scripture to be Christ-like. Obviously, we can't be Christ, we can't be God, but we're supposed to be as, I guess, righteous and faithful as we can be in the way that we act, the way that we talk, and the way that we present ourselves And giving to the poor is one of them. One of the things that we're commanded to do. To take care of children is another one. So yeah, seeing St. Nicholas give to children, it's very Christ-like, because that's what Jesus did. He'd always give it to children.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, folks, that's where the road went from celebrating the birth of Christ to Santa Claus. All right, I think we'll take another quick break. You're listening to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio, and we will be right back in just a few minutes.
Hello, everybody. Sublimely Elegant here, as always, and guess what? I know you. Well, no, we've never met, but I do know you. I know you love Minecraft. I know you love the internet. Now, I also happen to know you love colorful language. So instead of moping around all day, why don't you head on over to my channel and satiate your deepest needs? YouTube.com/Sublimely Elegant.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group. That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, tail-wagging, backyard-hanging, and, of course, companionship. And what breed would you say Satchmo is? I'd have to go with maybe a lavish terrier-hound chihuahua-looking kind of mix. Tremendous dog. I'd also like to point out Satchmo's coloring, a white, gray, brown, black brindle, simply marvelous. It's such a treat to watch a dog like this. Now, let's see him in action. Look how he makes eye contact with his person. That's actually known as the treat stare. How intuitive. And now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles. The happy dance, so common with this group. And finally, the loving face lick. It's great how he just gets in there and, licks. Fantastic. But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one. Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
This is Bill Hall, author of the book The World's Most Haunted House, and you're listening to Paratruth Radio.
All right, folks, welcome back to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. My name is Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And we have been doing our Christmas special, talking about the big fat man, Santa Claus. We talked about a little bit about Jesus' birthday, why we celebrate, as well as how did it go from celebrating the birth of Christ to big old fat Saint Nick in his jolly red suit giving presents to kids. We also answered one of Geraldine's questions, and we did have another one, which I will pull up here, which was, how do you deal with anti-Christmas people, both secular, atheist, and Christians? I'll take my view on this first, Eric, so that way I'll give you a break and make you think a minute.
Cool.
Honestly, I really don't care what faith anybody is. If people want to wish me happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, then I will say thank you, same to you. Merry Christmas. Again, I will say Merry Christmas. Most people that are against a holiday about loving and giving, which they all have their reasons, that's their view and that's their opinion, and I can appreciate and understand that. But to down talk a holiday where it's supposed to be about peace on earth and goodwill towards men, and then basically tell people you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't celebrate Christmas. I don't care what your view is on that. Even as an atheist, I was still celebrating Christmas. I maybe didn't believe that there was a God or had my questions about God, but I still came together with my family, gave presents, gave joy to my family as well as accepted it from them, and just celebrated. If people can't get past, because a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, a lot of Christians, at least ones that have come to a lot more understanding, know that there are pagan things that have been brought into Christmas and all that, and they believe that that's why we shouldn't celebrate Christmas, because the Catholic faith and Christianity have adapted a little bit of paganism into Christmas. Is that what a lot of people that naysay Christmas are upset about, or?
No, it's more so that the pagan holiday that was actually around first, before Christmas. Christmas didn't come until, I don't know exactly the time, but a little after Christ's death, a few years after Christ's death, I believe.
Right.
The original pagan holiday was known as Saturnalia, which was a Roman festival, an ancient Roman festival, which honored the deity of Saturn. And it was held between December 17th and December 23rd. 5th of December, they celebrated something known as the birthday of the unconquerable sun. Now, back then, after Christ's death, Christians set out to change the world, to influence the world as Christ and teach people the gospel and bring them to the Lord. One of the ways that they did that was to try to snuff out pagan influence, because the pagan influence was very wicked. There was a lot of sexual immorality, murder, sacrifice, so on and so forth, which was completely against the Christian faith and what Christ taught, which was, basically don't give in sexual immorality, no sacrificing, no murder, so on and so forth. And so the best way to do that was to snuff out the pagan influence. And one way to do that was to take a holiday, or make a holiday, in this case Christmas, celebrate Christ's birthday on a pagan holiday or near a pagan holiday. That way pagans would associate, the birth of Christ, in a sense, with their holiday, and eventually it would change over time. So when they celebrated the birthday of the unconquerable sun, they could really be celebrating the birthday of the unconquerable sun, S-O-N, as opposed to S-U-N. And really, celebrate Christ and his birth. Now, of course, none of us really know when Christ was born. It's not written in the scriptures. There's nothing written about it. We know where he was born. That's about it. Some people have speculated and have certain idea of when he was born, but no one knows for sure. So the best thing we could do, and we do this with, there's plenty of people who've been born and we don't know their birth dates, they've been adopted, and we don't know. So we give them a birth date. And we do the same thing with animals. We don't know when certain creatures are born. We give them a birth date. And so we do the same thing here. We didn't know when Jesus was born, but we wanted to celebrate his birth because of his birth, we earned salvation or gained salvation after 33 years. And so they ended up doing that on December 25th to coincide or to take over the pagan holiday. And so people think today that because Christmas takes place on the same day as a pagan holiday, Christmas is and should be considered a pagan holiday. Simple as that. It should be considered a pagan holiday. And that's where the pagan influence comes from. So people just think, well, hey, since they're the same day, it's obviously pagan and has nothing to do with Christ. Because they don't believe that worshiping and believing in Christ and believing that it's his birthday we're celebrating doesn't matter. Because no matter what, you're celebrating a pagan holiday. And that's where the issue comes in.
All right. Well, now let's pull your view into it on how not necessarily how to deal with people, but your view on it and how to maybe not worry so much about what other people are saying.
All right. Well, it's all about the faith in Christ. You know, when you have your faith in something, that something becomes real, that someone becomes real. So if you go into Christmas thinking it's a pagan holiday and you believe it's a pagan holiday, then yes, you're going to celebrate a pagan holiday because that's your mindset. But if you go into December 25th believing that that's the day Christ was born, or at least the day we're celebrating Christ's birth, and that's the day that he came into this world and gave hope to mankind and to the world, then you're celebrating Christmas, you know, the Christian aspect of Christmas. And there's absolutely nothing pagan about it. When you look at a Christmas tree, you know, some people think that the Christmas tree is a pagan symbol, but it's not. A Christmas tree represents in Christianity the tree in which Christ died. In other words, a cross, because crosses were carved from trees. You know, and on top of that, and I don't know the great details on this, but back when trying to think what it's called. I can't even think what it's called, but you're a jerk. I just keep wanting to think of kingdom because I can't think of the word. But the giant building, this is terrible. The kingdom that Solomon built for God.
The Babylon Tower?
No, not the tower. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Oh God. Got it. Boom. Okay. All right. Actually, sometimes I just go completely blank when I'm talking to everybody. When King Solomon built the temple, one of the things that the temple had was images and actually had trees within the temple that were decorated and lighted. And you can actually read that through Scripture, that he had these trees in and they were all had lights on them. So the Christmas tree represents Christianity in a number of different ways. So in regards to this thought, you know, how do we talk to, deal with, or work with people who, you know, believe this holiday to be a pagan holiday as opposed to a Christian one? You know, it all comes down to one's belief. If you believe it's a pagan holiday, don't celebrate it. It's that simple. But as a Christian, we see it, even though we're not commanded to celebrate it, we see it as a day in which we give thanks to the Lord for providing Jesus to come and save us from our sins, to allow us to enter heaven one day when we die. But I do have a question that might help, and I'd like to pose this to, especially to the Christians who don't necessarily believe that Christmas is a good holiday, or believe it's evil. My question to those people is, do you celebrate your birthday? Because let's face it, we all celebrate our birthday. It's a day that we, you know, find great pride and joy in because it's the day we were born, you know, it's the day that God gave us life. But when you really look at your birth, the Scriptures tell us that all man is born in sin. So as a baby infant, we're sinners. We're evil. You know, we're destined for hell. Which means that if we celebrate our birthday every single year, we're technically celebrating evil every single year. So what makes that any different than celebrating, you know, or thinking, I guess, if you celebrate Christmas, you don't celebrate it as evil. You celebrate it as a great time in remembrance of Christ. And so we do the same thing. It's a great remembrance of our life, you know, when we celebrate our birthday. So I'm just saying, like, if you're not going to celebrate Christmas, you may as well not celebrate your birthday, because both come from a rooted, I guess, in some kind of evil. Hence paganism, where it's not derived from, but where it's been placed over, I guess.
Right.
I have a hard time explaining that. But then, it's the same thing with birth, because, we're all born evil, so we're celebrating ourselves. But that's just something for some Christians. It isn't an evil holiday by any means. It's not supposed to be. But if you believe it to be, then yeah, it's wherever your faith is, what you believe, where you stand. But you shouldn't be going around telling other Christians, hey, you shouldn't be celebrating this holiday.
That's not very Christian of somebody to be doing.
No, and it's very disrespectful. It's just like if this person wakes up Christmas morning and says, today is the day that my Lord and Savior was born, then they're truly worshiping and celebrating the birth of Christ. And you're basically telling them not to do that, as someone who doesn't believe in the holiday. So, it's just, unfortunately, people are very opinionated, and they want everyone to follow their personal beliefs. That's what it is. And that's the way it always has been, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, for those who feel oppressed by other people, whether they're, fellow Christians or non-Christians who are telling you not to follow the holiday and not to celebrate it, simply pray about it. If you believe that it's a holiday that celebrates Christ's birth, God's glory, celebrate it because He's celebrating with you. So.
And I think that's very well put. The holiday is going to be whatever you choose to believe it is. I mean, and that's all it comes down to. So very well put.
Thank you.
You got the applause twice already, man. You're going pretty strong.
I'm on a roll.
Oh no, the Ric Flair.
Wait a second. Oh gosh. I didn't even think about that. I take that back. I never did that.
Yeah, you did. It's recorded now.
Oh man.
All right. Well, now that we are past the 1 hour, or almost getting close to the end of the show here, we're 50 minutes left. We're going to talk a little bit about Krampus, who is also known as the Anti-Claus. And me and Eric had never heard about this before until watching an episode of Supernatural, and they're talking about the Anti-Claus and this demonic type creature that was the complete opposite of Santa Claus. Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure. If you don't know what anthropomorphic means, it means that he can take on any form. According to traditional narratives around the figure, Krampus punishes children during the Christmas season who had misbehaved, in contrast with St. Nicholas, who rewards well-behaved ones with gifts. So not Santa Claus giving coal, but he would use Krampus to punish the bad ones and give gifts to the good ones.
Which, for those of you out there who listened to my car ride video today, I had mentioned that there's renditions in which Santa Claus walked around with a demon as opposed to an elf. And here we are talking about it now.
Yeah. And I mean, to this day in Germany, it's still a part of Christmas. Traditional parades in which young men dress as Krampus, such as the Krampuslauf, or translation meaning Krampus Run, occur annually in some Alpine towns. Krampus is featured on holiday greeting cards called Krampus Karten, or the Krampus card. So this is still a huge part of culture for Germany, and it dates back to Germanic paganism. This creature was actually around pre-Christian traditions, and was adopted just like other things that people believe that Christianity adopted from paganism. This was another one of those things that was adopted in Germany and in Austria as well, it looks like. Did I lose Eric? I lost Eric. So we'll wait for Eric to come back here. So yeah, this dates back to paganism and pre-Christian beliefs here. Let's see here. There are pictures on the Wikipedia page here for Krampus that show the Krampus parade in Porsche am Wörthersee. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. In 2013. So not too far from this year. Andy's back.
Yes, I am.
So that's not what I wanted.
Welcome back, everybody.
So Krampus dates back to pagan beliefs as well. So I know that we've talked about this. What are some of the things that you have read on good old Krampus or Krampus, however you pronounce his name?
Yeah. Well, there's a number of different reviews or things that I've read, and I remember some of the things that we've talked about back in 2009, 2008 when we first did the Christmas episode. And that one, I don't know if you mentioned it. You might have mentioned it when I lost connection here. But he walks around with a staff, and he uses his staff to beat children that are.
Oh no, I didn't mention that part.
Okay, so yeah, he walks around with a wooden staff, and he will beat the children who are considered, or on the naughty list, if you will, are considered not good children. But it goes beyond that because I believe, and I could be mistaken. I tried looking for it, and I had trouble finding it, but I do remember reading it on some of the paperwork we had back in 2008, and it claimed that one of the legends or theories behind this Santa Claus was that it actually ate children as well.
Yeah, I do remember that part of it.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting one, and that's probably, honestly that's the one I remember most vividly because I'm just like there's really no other words to use. However, I guess some regional variations have shown this Krampus or this Santa Claus to be more of a humorous thing than a fearsome one. And how exactly it does that, I don't know. It's just something that I came across. And it doesn't really give any details as to why it's considered humorous. Perhaps it's just the way, we all know how children are these days. They don't share anything. But besides that, I don't really have much on the Santa Claus. Not like, you pretty much said most of it, honestly.
Well, and just to give you guys a little bit of an idea what Krampus is supposed to look like, and this is through the different cultures that believe in Krampus or Krampus. He's hairy, usually brown or black, and has the cloven hooves and horns of a goat. So basically what you would think of if you think of a demon.
Right.
And he's also got a long pointed tongue, or sometimes it shows a split tongue. Again, also a demonic type creature that it's supposed to look like. And looking at these pictures from the festivals in Germany, I mean, there's one that says a modern Krampus at Perschenlof in Klagenfurt, and that was in 2006. And this thing looks something straight out of a Halloween horror movie. So, I mean, they've definitely intertwined this being with their celebration of Christmas. Also, it also goes into the Krampusnacht, which is basically translation Krampus Night. The Feast of St. Nicholas is celebrated in parts of Europe on December 6th. In Alpine countries, St. Nicholas has a devilish companion named Krampus, which we've gone over. On the preceding evening, which is Krampus Night or Krampusnacht, the hairy devil appears on the streets, sometimes with St. Nicholas, sometimes by himself, visiting homes and businesses. The saint usually appears in the Eastern Rite vestments of a bishop, and he carries a ceremonial staff. Unlike North American versions of Santa Claus in these celebrations, St. Nicholas concerns himself only with the good children, not the bad ones, while Krampus is responsible for the bad. Nicholas dispenses gifts, while Krampus supplies coal and routen, I'm not sure what routen is, bundles. So it's gone past Krampus beating the crap out of kids to giving them coal and not so good treats.
Which, is very interesting because, this whole idea of Santa Claus and Krampus is very similar to the commercialized version of God and the devil.
Right.
A lot of people figure, God deals with good people, the devil deals with the bad, which isn't the case at all, and that's a whole other topic altogether.
Episode, yeah.
To get into. But, and even looking at the images and what you just said about what the Krampus looks like, he looks like a black goat with these hooves and so on and so forth. When you look at Satanism and you look at the pictures they have, there's one in particular, and, some of you, everyone's, I think, pretty much seen this photo. And this photo, it's known as the Goat of Mendes, or in other words, the Famet, which is a symbol of Satanism. And it's basically this goat head, with the long horns, and what appears to be almost a woman-like body, black wings, and hoofs, as well as a tail in some images, and has a star on its head. Just Baphomet, which is more or less this deity of Satanism, is very similar to Krampus. And it's just kind of weird how similar they are, because everything kind of correlates in one sense or another in regards to this good and evil type thing. So I found that pretty interesting, and you can probably look up the images yourselves out there in internet land, especially if you're listening to the radio right now, because safe that you're online, so check it out. Yeah, man, I'm sorry. I'm a little I'm looking at this picture here, the 1900s greeting card for the greetings from the campus.
Yeah.
Have you seen this greeting card? This photo on this card?
Oh yeah. Gruß von Krampus. Yeah, greetings from Krampus.
I mean, look at that picture. There's that poor little boy. This is what's interesting. There's this poor little boy, on this, what is it, a log. Looks like he's having the worst time of his life, which would make sense because there's this demon with its claws on his head and it's what appears as back, and he's opening his mouth. It looks like he's about to eat him. Then you have this little girl who's just all nonchalant, like, this is my, this is
Well, she's the good one because she's got the apples and the presents while the boy's
the apples and the
almost looks like he's being molested by Krampus, but that's
it really does. It's like, what the heck? And what are these chains by his feet? Look at those. I mean, what the heck? These are the gift cards, or the greeting cards, that people would give out at Christmas time in the 1900s. That's creepy.
And I've posted the Wikipedia link for you guys to look at a couple of these pictures that people have posted in the Wikipedia explanation of Krampus, because just in general, these things are very, very disturbing. Let alone the greeting card that you would give to a family member.
Look at the greeting card that Justin and I would give to each other because we're weird and creepy sometimes.
Right.
But, you don't give that to your neighbor.
Here you go, Eric. Greeting from Krampus.
Yay. I'm going to go burn this now.
All right. I think we'll take one last break here. You guys are listening to the Christmas episode of Paratruth Radio. If you want to join us in our chat room and you're listening on a computer, you can just scroll down to the bottom there and get into our chat room and just give us a little holler if you have any questions, not even Christmas questions, any questions you guys would like to know from us. Just give us a holler. You can also call in 914-205-5558. And you can also hop on our Facebook and Twitter page, and we'll take a look at them there as well. We will be right back in just a couple minutes. All right, folks, welcome back to Paratruth Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. My name's Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And we've been doing our Christmas episode here. We've covered Santa Claus. We've covered the Anti-Claus. We've covered Jesus and Jesus' birthday. We've covered our questions that we got asked. And we've covered some memories that we have from Christmases past. Is there any other memories that you want to share with our listeners from Christmases past, or even just winters past?
Well, I guess the other ones, which maybe I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, is having our dogs around Christmas morning, because not only do they try to open everybody else's gifts, but they completely destroyed their gifts, and it's fun seeing. Like, I always love seeing like Thunder, Tractor, and Angus, because they do the best. Have always did the best job at opening gifts. They're pro. They were pros. They're pro gift openers. They'd have a gift open in like 3 seconds, and whatever was in it would be devoured in less than 1 second, and we'd be waiting for the next gift. But that's something that I like a lot. Like I guess memories. You know, thinking of the 3 dogs, having them around. But there's a lot of other ones. You know, like us all wearing the Christmas hat or Santa Claus hats. You know, for Christmas. There's one in particular. There's actually a picture that I have around somewhere. It might be on Facebook. You, me, and your brother sitting around the table here at this house, each of us wearing either I might have been the Browns hat, Santa Claus hats.
Well, I know for sure Matt was wearing the brown Santa Claus hat.
So
I was probably wearing a regular Santa Claus hat.
Maybe that's I have to look it up here. I remember that day actually, and that was a lot of fun.
Well,
what about you?
It's funny that you brought up the dog thing because Shelly, my girlfriend, has told me that her dog Shadow will know what presents are hers just by the smell. She'll come back to them several times just to make sure that they're hers. And I've heard stories of her sneaking presents out from not even underneath the tree, but where they were hid by her mother, because her dogs stay with her parents a lot, and bring it out from the hiding spot to ask if she could open it. Like, bring it out and kind of just nonchalantly lay down with the present in her mouth. So it's kind of funny that it's kind of gone a little bit beyond giving to children and to even to adults, but also giving to and the ones the animals that we love. So it's kind of funny to see that.
I mean, my dogs love Christmas, and you could see the joy in their eyes and on their face and in their tails when Christmas time came around.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, animals know when it's Christmas, or our pets do, you know, and they get excited because they know what's ahead. And it's cool to see.
And for those people out there that say animals don't have feelings, they really do. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
I agree.
So, one of the biggest memories for me is from more recent times, just being at your house and Christmas Eve to eat dinner and just be happy with everybody. And even going to my mom's side of the family, it's always a treat to see everybody. Even seeing the little ones now, it's almost, it boggles my mind that my brother and sister have children now. It really does. And my brother is an awesome dad, and my sister, I'm sure, will be an awesome mom and is an awesome mom. From my understanding, she handled her delivery quite well, so I know she's prepared for it. So just seeing the evolution from when we were kids to us sharing that with our little ones is probably the most amazing thing I can think of nowadays. It's really joyous to see all of that now. And growing up, it was kind of hard to see that future for us. I mean, nobody really thinks, oh, I'm going to grow up and have kids and, you're going to have those
Right.
Christmas times with your kids, but
Right.
I'm trying to think of a specific time more recently, even though I haven't been home for the holidays in a couple years now. That would bring a lot of memories back for me. Honestly, I always remember spending time either at Grandma and Grandpa Cancellari's and then at Grandma and Grandpa Schultz's or my Aunt Barb's. And then through the years at your guys' house and my Aunt Barb's. And just everybody just getting together just to be together and celebrate the time. And I don't think I would ask for anything other than those times again.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm trying to think of if there's any other memories I can come up with. I don't think so. We've got roughly little less than a half hour left. Not to go into the long term of it, but since we are talking about Christmas and we kind of went into why it went from the birth of Christ to the giving gifts and big old fat Saint Nick, why don't you go kind of tell the whole story of the birth of Jesus Christ and how we came to celebrate this holiday?
Okay. Oh goodness. So much stories.
Just enough to last maybe 10, 15 minutes. Let's keep it a little cut down.
So, well, my computer's about to die. So once upon a time. No, so there's this long genealogy before Christ, and it's basically every single father from Abraham through David all the way to Jesus. Well, father and son, I should say. So this father and this son had this son became a father and had this son became a father, so on and so forth, from Abraham all the way to Jesus. And that's kind of how the story begins. And we come to the present day, a little over 2,000 years ago, where Joseph and Mary are engaged, per se, to be married. Well, one day an angel of the Lord comes to Mary in a dream, and he says, I'm going to give you a gift, and you're going to bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means Lord with, or God with us. Well, when she wakes up, when Joseph wakes up, Mary comes to him and says, I'm going to give birth to a baby. And of course, Joseph, he's kind of freaking out because he thinks that she cheated on him and that she had relations with someone else and that she, was impregnated. But she was trying to say that, explain to him that the Holy Spirit came down upon her and placed the baby within her. And hence it's God's child, per se. And this all had to be done so that a virgin birth would happen. And the reason being is because sin is passed down from male. It's passed down from the male. This is kind of weird. That's like a huge theology thing, and it goes really deep. But Joseph decides he's going to divorce Mary. He's going to do it very quietly because he's a stand-up guy and he doesn't want to shame her, because back in those days, if he was to divorce her publicly and people knew about it, and back then you would only divorce someone if they were unfaithful toward you. Well, that woman would be put to death for being unfaithful. So he decided, I'm going to do it very quietly so no one knows. So right before he decides to divorce her, an angel of the Lord comes to him as well. And some depict this angel as being Gabriel. And in the scriptures, I believe, some scriptures anyway, depending on how it's translated, it is Gabriel that comes to them. And he tells Joseph, do not divorce this woman, for the child that she conceives is of God. And he lets him know, basically lets Joseph know that she was not unfaithful towards you, but this is the virgin birth. And he tells Joseph to take her, I believe, to Nazareth to give birth, which is why they say that call him Jesus the Nazarene.
Right.
And so they end up going to Nazareth to get away from King Herod, who finds out that there's this child about to be born that's supposed to grow up and become king. And he doesn't want any part of that. So he sends out his men to slaughter everyone under the age of 2, every firstborn male under the age of 2. And when that happens, Joseph takes Mary and they go to Bethlehem. And the story might be it's hard going back and thinking the story without reading the scriptures for me sometimes. But they go to Bethlehem, and that's where Jesus is born. And he's born not very peacefully, because a lot of people think, this is, Jesus, the Son of God, is being born. So this baby's probably like really quiet, and it is probably like a painless birth and so on and so forth. But given the times, you got to remember there were no medications, like no pain blockers or anything like that.
Right.
So she had to give birth basically in a hole, in this concrete cavern, more or less, where it was probably really cold, and there was nothing but hard surface, and it was just a terrible, terrible, terrible thing that you would have had to go through back then when giving birth. And when she gives birth to this child, named Emmanuel, God with us. And, many people say that he was born in a manger, which actually isn't true. He wasn't born in a manger. When you think about him being, under this giant wooden, tarp, and it had all the straw and everything like that. That's not actually true, and it's much more, uncomfortable than that. They were in this really dark room. It really, like I said, it was really cold, and people would have had to come and stand outside it because the room was just too small. And some of those people were the 3 wise men who saw the star of Bethlehem and followed it. And when they got there, they presented gold, frankincense, and myrrh to baby Jesus for a number of reasons. One, those 3 gifts were often given to royalty when they were born. And they heard from the angel of the Lord that the king would be born and that his name would be Jesus. And so they go there and they present him with the gifts of royalty because he's born a king. He's God. He is a king. But another thing about that, which is interesting, and not many people know this, but frankincense and myrrh are they're like it's like an aroma. They're used in perfumes and anointing oils back then. But in particular, they're used at burials. And they're used to, basically, they would pour the dead body, they'd pour oil on this dead body of frankincense and myrrh so that the decomposition of the body wouldn't, stink up the place as bad. They'd have this frankincense and myrrh to help conceal the smell of rotting flesh.
Oh.
And this whole gift giving of the frankincense and myrrh were kind of like an indication to what would happen to Christ. It was a forecoming of his death on the cross, which is very, interesting because when you look through the Bible, there's so many prophecies. And you learn throughout the Bible that all of the prophecies that were made have come true. And this is yet another one that has been made is then shown, and then eventually, takes place in his death.
Well, let me ask this, not to cut you off, but where did the manger come from if that's not what really happened?
Again, it's just one of those things where people...
Was it to make it so that it wasn't so gruesome?
It's like, in a sense, to make it a little more lighthearted. And some believe that there was a manger, and depending on the manger, when you think of a manger, you think of like this cradle with straw in it, more or less.
Right.
So it's very comfort place, and that may be true, but there weren't all these people, like animals, necessarily all around. They weren't in this like beautiful setting. It
wasn't a very clean setting, even though it seems to look that way in the nativity scene and everything like that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So it's just something that, someone at some point came up with to make it a little lighter, I guess. We see the same thing with and this is going back even further, with Noah's Ark. How often do we see or depict Noah's Ark as being this, this giant ark with 2 of each animal on it, and it's all, they're all smiling and it's happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
But in reality, if you wanted to depict the true flood of Noah's Ark, not only would you have these animals and people on the ark, but you'd have dead floating bodies and dead floating animals around the ark.
Yeah.
To make it more realistic, because that's what it was. It was a horrifying time. It was gruesome. It was gross. There's all these bloated bodies floating around from the drownings. But, people have to make it more lighthearted for whatever reason, because they don't want to scare their children. And unfortunately, as time goes on, it transforms into a different story, or a more lighthearted story, and no one sees it as it really is. But yeah, that's the birth of Christ, and we never go into his childhood. We don't know what his childhood was like. Some believe that he performed miracles as a child. And some claim that there are writings out there for it, which there's not. And if there are writings, they were not considered canonical by the Hebrews and by the Jews.
Right.
So they're thrown out as being apocrypha. Basically meaning stories that were lies. So yeah, when Jesus was born, it was a really dark time. Children were murdered because of Jesus, because he wanted King, Herod wanted to kill him, and it's just very, very bad and gruesome time. But that's why Jesus came at that time too, because he's supposed to be this light in all this darkness. He's supposed to bring hope to the people, which he did. And when people heard that the prophecy came true, and that this king was born, it all kind of came into effect right there and then of what was about to happen, what did happen. And we see that later on when he turns 30. And the Gospels, they talk about his birth, and then it jumps straight to when he's 30 years old, and he starts his ministry. And he runs that ministry for 3 years until he's 33 and is eventually crucified. But yeah.
Well, and I get that the manger is a little bit more pleasing. To me, a manger is just as dirty as a hole in a bar. But I even in the Bible is the manger, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where I'm kind of not understanding. I get that they have to make it more lighthearted so that the younger generation, and even like somebody, you and I, if we thought, oh God, Christ was born in a bar in a hole, that is really messed up. Compared to he was born in a manger surrounded by angels and the wise men and his mother, all that. It's a little, to me, is a little bit better image of Christ than being born in a hole.
Yeah, and yeah, the Bible does say manger, and it depends on. I should look into it, find out what the actual word is in Hebrew or Aramaic. And and maybe that's something I could just touch base on next week. But yeah, it's written in Aramaic, the New Testament. So I could go and find out what the word is used in Aramaic for manger, and then find out what that word really means. Because sometimes the translations, it just depends on how they're translated. And just because it says manger in the Bible, that's only giving part of the story, you know. So people might come to the conclusion like, oh, it's a manger. Well, maybe it's a really nice manger, and you know, you have all these angels and these fluffy animals that are all kind and whatever, and so on and so forth. You just kind of add to the story, more or less.
Right.
And the Bible isn't extremely descriptive all the time, so it doesn't go into great detail. It's not a novel, it's history. It's a history book. I'm tired.
Yeah, well, we've got about 10 minutes left just to wrap things up a little bit. Shelly was sending me a couple of pins on Pinterest, one of them being pictures of old Santa, like kids sitting with Santa, and I swear to God, dude, like the early 1900s must have been the creepiest time ever. Like, these pictures of these Santas, they're all wearing, well, I shouldn't say all. A lot of them are wearing masks, not even just a beard, masks, that almost look like they're made out of human skin. Some of them have makeup on that make them look like a devilish-looking clown with a beard. Yeah, growing up in the early 1900s, I would have been frightened of Santa Claus, or even some of the Halloween costumes that were around in the 1900s, way more scarier than the stuff that are around now. So yeah, most kids will scream and cry for the first time sitting on Santa's lap. There's this one picture that's the head of this little pin. This kid looks like his soul is about to be taken away from him just for sitting on Santa's lap. So,
he probably sees Krampus in the background somewhere.
If that would be one thing. If Krampus was in the background, I could see being a little bit disturbing with your costume for Santa Claus. But all these kids, except for one that's smiling with a guy that has a Santa mask on and is basically shoving a present into the kid's gut.
That's weird.
It's just really weird how we've evolved through the years.
Yeah. All right. This is a question off topic because we haven't really gone off topic yet today.
Okay.
So we got to go off topic at least once.
Okay.
And I can't remember exactly what it says because my computer died and I can't look at it. On your Facebook page, for you ladies and gentlemen out there, look up Justin Cancellari. You can check it out. Check his Facebook page. Your what do they call it? Your banner or your backdrop or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a giant sign that says Susan something.
Salem Sue.
Salem Sue, that's what it says. Salem Sue.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
Well,
because I've been trying to figure it out.
If you look through my other photos, Salem Sue is this huge cow sculpture that's in Salem, North Dakota. And it's like this huge thing for them. Let me see if I can even find the picture. But there's a picture of me basically holding up Salem Sue is what it's supposed to look like.
Okay.
But it's this huge, like, I think she's made out of metal, cow, and it's just this big thing in Salem.
Okay.
So,
well,
for those of you listening and seeing Eric's video of Ask Questions, even Eric is asking questions. So here's a question I'm posing to you. Are you trying to look like Dean Winchester, or is it just naturally coming?
You know what? The other day, I met with Libby for lunch, I think. Dinner? I don't remember. But we went to Panera, and I showed her some pictures from Lynchburg. And one of the pictures that she had come across was that particular picture, my profile picture for Facebook. And her exact words were, "Is this a Dean Winchester photo that you're supposed to be doing?" And I was like, what the heck is wrong with everybody? No, it's not supposed to be me pretending to be Dean Winchester. It is me simply being awesome, because I was born awesome.
Well, even with your little video and the scruffiness of your face, which is not you at all, at least not normally.
No, you can see how scruffy I am right now. I haven't shaved since then. I'm really scruffy.
It's past November, man. You can shave.
Yeah, I'm just too lazy, and I kind of like it. But okay, to answer your question, no, that was not supposed to be some Dean Winchester interpretation or whatever photo. It just happened to look that way. I'm serious.
Really? Because you're really pouring it on thick for the Dean Winchester lookalike contest.
Honored. I am really honored that you would say that, because you all know how much I love Jensen Ackles and his character, Dean Winchester. But nope. It's just a normal picture.
No, I'm not doing it. It's not on purpose.
But if there ever is some kind of competition, I'll be more than happy to post it.
Honestly, you would win most lookalike contests for Dean Winchester, especially with the facial hair thing going on, and then your little eyebrow thing in your profile picture. Yeah,
exactly what Libby said. What? What is this eyebrow thing? I have to actually go back and look at some pictures, because I don't know what you guys.
You're raising one eyebrow like The Rock, but the way because you're white, first off, and you got the longer face like Dean. You look like Dean Winchester.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, let's get off the
Take it as a compliment.
I am taking it as a compliment. Very much so. We have less than 6 minutes before the show ends. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, is a huge show that we're going to be doing. Not much unlike today's show, minus the whole Christmas aspect of it.
Whoa, we're not going to talk about Christmas?
No, we're not going to talk about Christmas.
Son of a biscuit.
I know. Well, that's what today was for, All the Christmas stuff comes before Christmas. After Christmas, nobody, you don't see Christmas shows after Christmas. You don't listen to Christmas music after Christmas. So, yeah, no Christmas. We could. If something comes up, that's fine. We're always willing to flex the rules a little bit. But, no. It's a very special episode, ladies and gentlemen, because we have our New Year's episode, and in particular our New Year's Eve episode, which will be really nice. And Justin and I will actually be in the same room, in the same house, in the same city. I should have did that in reverse. In the same city, in the same house, in the same room. That's a lot like Willy Wonka. You say it one way, you say, wait, no, reverse that. And it is going to be an awesome show, because you think that sometimes we say silly, stupid things on air now. Wait until we get to see each other and then are capable of doing things that the other can see. Yeah. Then you get a crazy episode.
Yeah. And then I already add in maybe some of your sister's antics if they're there, and some of our other family members. Yeah. So.
And you know what? I've already got a few things planned.
Oh,
and I'm even giving you a heads up on that. Yeah. So, it's something to look forward to. Are we doing a 2-hour episode for that as well, or what are we doing? 1-hour episode?
Yeah, it's gonna be a 2-hour episode. I wanted to do a giveaway for this one, but just funds-wise and some things coming up, I decided not to. So, but I think since it's going to be such a special episode next week, I think we'll do a Paratruth Radio T-shirt giveaway for next week's episode.
All right, that sounds cool. Yeah, and in regards to the topic, it's going to be a free-for-all, I think, right?
It's going to be a free-for-all. I think we'll share some clips of previous shows, some of our favorites. So you'll have to let me know, some of your favorite episodes so I can get some clips done of that.
Yeah.
As well as if you come across any of your EVPs, we can share those as well.
Yeah, I can actually go through some of that because I have my EVP stuff here, so we can go through that.
Exactly.
And maybe, just an idea, maybe we can go through some clips of our own personal shows that we had before Paratruth Radio. Might be interesting
Yeah, if I can find some of Parasite Radio, they might be all deleted, but I can definitely double check, and I'll go through some Night Stalkers and find some a little bit more cleaner.
Clean ones, please. And I have all my Forgotten Truth stuff on my computer here, so yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, folks, we are coming to the close for tonight. This was our Christmas episode. Catch us next week for our New Year's extravaganza, if you will. And it's going to be a really great one. On that note, my name's Justin.
And I'm Eric.
And we will see you guys next week.
Peace.